Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to be decoding the signals, some subtle, some not so subtle, that your body sends when its most important filtering system, your kidneys, is in trouble.
So let's kick things off with a fact that's, well, it's both fascinating and honestly a little terrifying. Unlike, say, a stub toe or a headache, your kidneys can't just send you a direct pain signal. Nope, they just work silently in the background, which makes listening for those other clues absolutely critical. And this is why it's so critical. You can lose up to 80%, 80, of your kidney function before the signs become obvious enough to really notice. That's a staggering amount of damage to happen before the alarm bells finally start to go off.
Right, so the takeaway here is that by the time many people figure out something is wrong, the problem is already pretty far along. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the 11 key signs from our research, 1 very loud alarm, and 10 much quieter, almost silent whispers. Okay, let's start with the one signal that is pretty much impossible to ignore: pain. Now you might be thinking, hang on, didn't you just say that kidneys don't have pain receptors? And you are 100% right. The pain doesn't actually come from the organ itself, but from all the structures around it. And this illustrates the point perfectly. A kidney stone, which is just this tiny, sharp crystal, it can form right inside your kidney tissue, and you won't feel a thing. The agony only starts when that little stone decides to leave the kidney and starts its journey down a very, very narrow tube called the ureter on its way to your bladder. That's what causes what so many people describe as the worst pain of their entire lives.
You know, what's really interesting here is how it breaks down the different kinds of pain. The pain from a kidney stone, it's sharp, it comes in waves, and it literally moves as the stone moves. Now, a kidney infection is totally different. That causes a deep, constant ache because of swelling, and it usually comes with a fever and chills. And then you have polycystic kidney disease, a genetic issue which causes this heavy, chronic pressure as cysts grow and actually stretch the capsule around the kidney. Okay, so that was the loud alarm. Now let's dial it back a bit. We're going to tune in to the much more common signs, those 10 silent whispers that can point to a slow, chronic decline in kidney function.
So sign number 1 is fatigue and brain fog. See, when your kidneys aren't filtering properly, waste products, things like urea and creatinine, they start to build up in your bloodstream. This condition has a name: uremia. And your brain is extremely sensitive to these toxins, which can make you feel sluggish, drain your energy, and make it really hard to concentrate.
All right, the next 2 signs both involve swelling, or what doctors call edema. And it happens for a couple of key reasons. First, damaged kidneys can start to leak a really important protein called albumin. Just think of albumin as a sponge that's meant to hold fluid inside your blood vessels. When you lose it, that fluid leaks out into your body's tissues. And second, failing kidneys have a tough time getting rid of sodium, and, well, wherever sodium goes, water follows, leading to even more water retention.
And what's wild is how gravity plays into this. When you're lying down flat all night, all that extra fluid can pool in your face, which is why you might wake up with puffy eyes. But then, as you're up and about all day, gravity does its thing and pulls that same fluid down to your legs, which is why you might notice swollen feet and ankles by the evening.
You know, your bathroom habits are pretty much a direct window into your kidney health. So you gotta pay attention to any big changes. Are you suddenly getting up multiple times a night to go to the bathroom? Is your total amount of urine way less than it used to be? Or have you noticed a consistent change in its color or even its smell? These are all really important clues.
Okay, on to sign number 5, foamy urine. This is probably one of the most well-known signs of kidney trouble out there. And this is a big but, there is a massive, crucial misunderstanding about when this sign actually shows up. So let's clear that up right now.
So here's the crucial point. The mechanism, the actual problem of protein leaking into your urine, can be detected by a simple lab test very, very early in the game. That's the microalbuminuria test. But the visible symptom, the persistent foam that you can actually see with your own eyes in the toilet bowl, that is a late-stage sign. It means a significant amount of protein is already being lost long after the problem could have been caught with a simple test.
All right, let's keep going and build on this with our second set of silent whispers. These next 5 signs really show just how interconnected your kidney health is with, well, the rest of your body, from your skin right down to your nervous system. Sign number 6 is persistent, itchy, and dry skin. And I'm not just talking about your typical winter dryness here. When kidneys can't filter out minerals properly, phosphorus can start to build up in the blood. That buildup can trigger this intense, all-over-the-body itching, and it's generally considered a more advanced stage symptom.
Now, here's a connection that most people just do not make. Your kidneys actually produce a vital hormone called EPO.
Think of EPO as the little messenger that runs over to your bone marrow and says, "Hey, we need more red blood cells, get to work." But when your kidneys are damaged, they make less EPO. And fewer red blood cells means less oxygen gets to your tissues, which leads to anemia. And that's why you might feel cold all the time, get short of breath, or have pale skin. This next one is a real catch-22. High blood pressure is a leading cause of kidney disease, but it's also a symptom of kidney disease. And this creates a really dangerous feedback loop. See, damaged kidneys hold on to sodium in water, which increases your blood volume and pushes your blood pressure up. Then, that high pressure puts even more strain on the tiny, delicate blood vessels in the kidneys, causing even more damage. It's just a vicious cycle.
And for our final 2 silent signs, a metallic taste in your mouth or breath that kind of smells like ammonia, that can be caused by a high level of urea in your saliva. And things like poor sleep, sometimes with that awful restless leg feeling, can be triggered by the buildup of toxins and electrolyte imbalances that just irritate and disrupt your whole nervous system.
Okay, so we've talked about the 1 loud alarm, we've gone through the 10 silent whispers. Now for the most important part. What do you do with all this information? How do we turn this awareness into actual, meaningful action?
Well, you've heard it a million times, but it's true. Your best defense is always going to be prevention. This really just means focusing on the fundamentals, managing your blood pressure and your blood sugar, reducing inflammation through your diet and stress management, and of course, hydrating properly. You're aiming for that light, straw-colored urine, not totally clear. Oh, and also be careful about overusing common pain pills like NSAIDs because they can be pretty tough on the kidneys.
Look, if any of these signs are hitting a little too close to home for you, the next step is simple. Talk to your doctor. A standard blood test can check your filtration rate. But here's the key, and I really want you to remember this. You should also specifically ask for that albumin to creatinine ratio, or ACR, urine test. As we just learned, it is the absolute best tool for catching problems early.
At the end of the day, your body is always communicating with you. The real challenge is knowing which signals to pay attention to. And for your kidneys, which do all their hard work in total silence, learning to listen to the whispers, it isn't just helpful, it could literally be life-saving. Thanks for joining us.